I don't know. I think I did it. Hello, everybody. My name is Calebjvr. I'm a graphic designer. I'm learning, nowhere near a professional, and I'm only here to help you too, honestly. I'm gonna tell you how I got this final product. I started off in Adobe Illustrator, went to Adobe Photoshop, did all the post-processing effects that you need to do, and it looks pretty snazzy compared to what would just be the vector. So this is why it's super important to have your process flow from Illustrator to Photoshop. In my personal opinion, this is my workflow. This is how I do it. You can always do it a different way. I'm ready. So when I started out in Illustrator, I didn't have any of this actually set up just quite yet. I had a blank canvas, obviously. This is what all of you have. I'm in the wrong mode. It's not what I intended. Why are you doing this? What? How do I get out of this? I don't remember how to get out of outline mode. Of course, that's like one of the first top searches. Anyway, so obviously you don't have any of this yet, right? You're just trying to find your process, bro. Well, I can tell you my process. I don't think that'll help you get your own process, but this is my workflow. This is what I've learned throughout the years. This is how I like doing things. So what I do is I start off with a line art, right? And the line art is going to be super rough. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad at the very beginning. And this looks all nice and clean right now because, you know, obviously I refined everything. You see these lines look incredible. What? You can't get that right from the start, dude. You got to work on that pen and tablet skill like I did. After you actually get your outline done, and this is a hard step, you got to trace all over things all the time. I suggest taking an actual photo and then drawing an outline of the photo. So if you have a face, like, then you can actually put that into Illustrator and then slowly trace the edges of the face. The nose and eyes are definitely going to be the most difficult part, at least the nose and mouth. To me, it's the nose and mouth. That's my weakness. But any details in the face is going to be like extremely difficult to actually get. So don't stress out about it. It's going to be bad. Let yourself fail. So after you actually get your outline all finished, and this is going to be bad probably if it's your first time, which is completely fine. Don't even stress it, brother. You're going to put in your color, and your color is going to look really flat. Also bad. Everything you do at the very beginning when you're first starting out like this is what it's going to look like once you actually get the colors in. So I went with the color scheme, and the color scheme revolves around yellow, blue, and brown mainly. You see these are just different tones of this yellow. This is blue. I use the same colors for the jeans and the shirt on the guy. So everything corresponds in the end, even if you have two different art styles. Like this character, this guy doesn't look as animated as this fish, obviously, because I mean, you don't have giant fishermen. So that's exactly how I did this. After you got your actual colors down, you can put in shaders, and shaders will make your piece pop and look way amazing. But this isn't finished yet. This is not, don't let this be a blank white background. Don't just throw in a gradient in the background, call it quits. I try to put my signature into like cool looking places. You can see I put Van Riper on the fishing rod. This isn't the most creative signature placement I've ever done, but there's some really cool ways you can incorporate your signature and make it look natural and not destroy the piece by just putting a dumb watermark in the bottom right. So after I did the shadows, I actually realized something too when I was doing this. Unfortunately, I don't have a high-speed recap or anything, but essentially the mistake I made was not coming up with a planned, coordinated direction of lighting. So what I mean by that is, originally my lighting was just going to start off from over here in this general area, and then what happened was I had the lighting pointing down this way. Shadows are going to be on the left side of this character, right? But they're on the right side of this character, and I didn't realize I did that until then. So I did a creative little fix and actually ended up changing the whole course of my art, and it looks way better now. So use your creativeness. Just let it sit in and think for a second. If you make a mistake, Think about how you could actually fix it and make a happy mistake is what Bob Ross said. So my fix was to put in a lantern because of course the lighting looks like it's coming from the center, right? So if you have the center lighting going from the lantern onto the two characters, it looks extremely natural just to be there. So that means the entire setting is now going to be at nighttime instead of just midday, which is boring. So what I did is this is my finished product in Illustrator, not Photoshop. Photoshop's going to be the final finished product, in my opinion. I brought that to Illustrator and snazzed it up. To get to this point, there's a lot of post-processing. I actually did a little bit of research. It's the first time I've done this much post-processing on a art piece, and it turned out really good. So I'm definitely going to be doing this from now on. So I thought out of putting a gradient in to start off because you need a background for your actual art. And before I even blurred all this out, which I can't show you what it looked like, it just looked like this but slapped in here. I used a tool that allows me to blur things, and this tool is called the blur tool. Shocker, surprising. Essentially what you can do is you can go up here and set your strength. I set mine to 100% because I was going to have some intensive blur effect to make it look like there's a lot more depth than there actually is, you know, just 2D vector art. And you can just paint around the areas you want blurred out. So if I wanted to blur, for some reason I want to blur my main art, which you don't do that, it's dumb. Then look, it blurs it out and it's super nice. And it just does it, and it's extremely convenient. You can just paint in the areas that you want to blur out. So yeah, it makes things super simple, but now you need a little bit more of a spicy background. You don't want to just leave this dumb gradient in the background, right? So what I did was I actually painted in a background with a couple brush tools and my pen and tablet. You can paint out things with the clouds. You can do this with a mouse too, but it's just more convenient for me to use a pen and mouse. So of course I didn't do very good right here because I knew that there was going to be the character in the way. And I just made some like super choppy looking water and waves and stuff and put in some clouds, and it looks pretty nice actually. I like the clouds a lot. And I wanted to make it look like it was like sunset. That's why you had the lantern out, and I did. So I then blurred it out. Then I blurred the foreground objects like the boat and blurred out the background objects like the fishing rod and his hat, you know, because it's flying back and it's like, whoa. And after you get that all finished, that's when I added in the lantern because, you know, it looks way more cooler and natural. And I had to blur that out because otherwise it didn't, it looks more 2D when it's just sitting here like alone, right? So that's a creative mistake fix and made it epic. I added in some smoke for his pipe. Then the first set of color grading comes in. So that's color balance and curves, and you can just add adjustments right here. You just click on adjustments and then you add whatever adjustment you want. So you want curves, you can just click on that. If you want color balance, you just click on color balance, and that's how that works. So what I did here is I actually lined it up a little bit, and I use Photoshop's auto color and auto contrast. It turned the colors a little bit more vibrant, and it made it a little bit more poppy because it was just too dim. My second to last step, I added in chromatic variation. As you can see, it made like these like weird little color on the lines, and it makes it extremely animated and dynamic and awesome looking. It's like kind of a modern art style. What I did is I duplicated all my layers. I literally just clicked on all the layers, press Control D. After you duplicate them all, you put them all into one layer by hitting Control E. And what that does is you can actually edit this file now. See, if you see, I turned down the opacity. It makes the thing a little bit less, but in order to get chromatic variation, and this is just like in video games and whatnot, you can actually hit the R&B channels and you can untick them, and that's what creates that. Otherwise, it's just the normal, right? If you leave green and blue, it's just gonna have this cool, also kind of like a, you know, a variation effect, but with just red and blue. It's a little bit less. I like it like this. That adds way more depth. And the last bit is more color grading, and it makes it look a lot more warmer. It looks like it's turning sunset, and it makes the lantern look like the main source of lighting now. It's going to get dark soon, and that's exactly what I want it to feel like. So, you know, story told. That's essentially it. It's pretty simple once you actually get used to what you're doing. Once you create a process, everything will be a lot more easier. still will stress you out. That's just how it is. But once you actually get into the groove, it's not stressful. It relieves stress. It's really nice to get this stuff done. It feels good to post it and have everybody be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Good job, you know? Thank you for stopping in. My name is Calebjvr. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something. I learned something. I learned about post-processing. I just watched a couple of YouTube videos, did a little bit of research, see what looks best, and this is what I got, and I enjoyed the final product. So yeah, have a good one.